You're listening to the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski,
featuring attorney, guest, and former felony prosecutor Eric Faddis.
New book is out by Howard Blum, When the Night Comes Falling, a Requiem for the Idaho Student Murders. It's kind of a biographical book that really dives into all of the individuals in this case. I don't want to say characters because it makes it sound like these aren't real human beings. These are people that are living through this nightmare right now. Goes into talking about the parents, the families of the victims, and really painting an interesting picture of all of these individuals who have all been brought together by this tragedy. Joining me to discuss, Eric Faddis, defense attorney and a former prosecutor. There's a lot in this book. I'm just starting to get into it, but I've watched several interviews that Howard has given about it. It seems one of the big narratives in here is about the dad, about him always wanting to be, a good dad, especially here later in life, because it seems like there's a lot of guilt there for younger years, feeling like he didn't come through as a provider, a good father figure, things of that nature. So really kind of almost overcompensating later in life. And then some questions that have been brought up about, maybe your son is not, I don't know. Something's not quite right, as we can tell. What do you think some of the takeaways here are going to be from this book, if anything? Being a lot of it is just kind of information given us to us from a different perspective.
The paternal support piece you touch on reminds me a bit of the Gabby, Petito and Bryan Laundrie saga, where Bryan Laundrie's parents really came to his defense, and some have accused them of even covering things up or trying to otherwise obstruct the investigation into the death. Now, I'm not saying that Kohberger's father went that far, but after the incident, there's that cross-country vehicle ride between Kohberger and his father, and it just sort of rings of this, fatherly support in really tough times, and how far did that support go?
Yeah, there's Howard apparently had talked to some acquaintances, friends of the father to kind of get some of this information, and from what we understand from the book, is that he was kind of wondering what was going on with his son, almost kind of just, not, I don't want to say suspecting, but curious about, well, my son drives this car. He lives out there. We kind of know his history with women. We know he has, he's kind of a powder keg in a lot of cases. You don't want to think that of your own child, but when you get pulled over twice in the course of just a few minutes, some red flags start to arise there.
I can't imagine what that father was thinking during that car ride. He's already got these suspicions, most likely. And then there are those two traffic stops with police. I think that can only, raise the concerns, raise the alarms in his head more. And it kind of confirms some of those things that he was worried about regarding his son, Kohberger.
Yeah, then he gets back to the house and starts cleaning the back of his car with bleach, wearing gloves in the house, putting things into plastic bags. Not a good look if you're not trying to hide anything. And of course, the family has not been present at any of Kohberger's hearings, and there's been a lot of Kohberger hearings. He's willing to go over there to pick him up for Thanksgiving. He went out there with him. I'm talking about the dad when he initially got Bryan over to school, even going as far as to a neighbor saying, "Hey, my son's he's kind of awkward. Why don't you be friends with him?" Like a parent would do to an 8-year-old. But we're talking about a 28-year-old here. Does that speak to anything that the family has not been in that courtroom at all over the course of now, more than a year?
There are multiple reads on that. Could go a number of ways. Could be that they're just sort of distancing themselves from this horrible incident.
Sure.
But it could also be, the dad is subject to being called as a witness by the prosecution, and he's going to have to get up there and he's going to be asked, "What did Bryan Kohberger tell you during this cross-country car ride? What did you talk about when the police came? How did he respond?" And either the dad's going to have to testify to the jury about that, or he's going to invoke the fifth, which would imply that he could have some kind of responsibility or some accessory after the fact involvement. It hasn't been established yet, but we'll have to see how that goes.
A lot of questions. It's a very interesting book. I'm excited to get more into it. If you want to check it out, it is by Howard Blum, When the Night Comes Falling, a Requiem for the Idaho Student Murders.
Sick of the ads?
We are too.
Start listening with no commercials now and get access to all of our episodes in advance of everyone else.
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
True Crime Today Premium Plus.
Sign up now.